Oh heck, are we rolling?
Oh.
Ah, I thought that was going to be an introduction. Oh, hello. Hi. That was an awkward minute of silence from me. um, yeah, this is DKC Returns HD. This is a remake of one of the best 2D platformers on the Wii. It's actually released. This remake was released early this year, so it's still very new, kind of. But yeah, I mean, for anyone who was speedrunning the Wii game, this is pretty much the same thing, but in a fresh coat of paint. Because I decided to just idle around for a minute there, I'm not going to waste any more time getting this started, so I'm going to go ahead and start the timer in 3, 2, 1, and go. And real quick, I should explain what modern mode is. So, in the 3DS and Switch remakes of this game, they added an easy mode, basically, which in 3DS it's called new mode, and on Switch it's called modern mode. This basically gives you 1 extra heart per Kong, and also lets you buy some extra items in the shop, which we'll be using at various points throughout the run. So if you're only familiar with the Rare trilogy of DKC games, you'll probably be used to switching between one or another Kong, and not using them both at the same time. But in the retro duology, which is confusingly the newer games, you play as DK, but you have Diddy as your buddy Kong. Or at least in DKCR, you have Diddy as your buddy Kong. In Tropical Freeze, you can have Dixie and Cranky as well. Or you can play as Funky, who is just really good at everything. Funky would kind of be too broken in this game, but in Tropical Freeze he works really well. But yeah, with Diddy you can infinite roll, which is incredibly useful. With DK you can only do individual rolls that last for half a second each. Going into 1-2, 1-2 is actually surprisingly difficult for being the second level in the game, at least in speedrunning. And this one trips up a lot of newcomers to the game, for sure. The first half's pretty easy, although you do have to be quite fast to catch the cycle that we want to get. This level runs on global cycles, so we pretty much need to be getting a move on as soon as we can. It's all fairly chill till we get to the checkpoint, and then we need to do some fast climbing. So climbing is best done by holding diagonally up on the D-pad rather than holding straight up. And specifically with the D-pad, it's a bit faster to hold diagonally. With the joystick, it's just a bit slower to climb on the hole. So you can skip a few parts here, just like that. Holding up diagonally on the joystick, no, the D-pad, lets you climb about 1.5 times as fast as just holding straight up. So it is incredibly useful and is used pretty much everywhere we can. And you might notice that the loading times are insanely long in this game. That is a Switch 1 only thing. This game was really built for the Switch 2, but they decided to release it like 5 months before the Switch 2 instead. So yeah, this game struggles immensely on Switch 1, but yeah, it's doing its best. We have a category split on the leaderboards because they're just nowhere near comparable to each other. And I do not have a Switch 2, unfortunately. However, I kind of see this as a positive for marathons because it means I have more time to yap about things and explain stuff. Because But yeah, Switch 1 loses nearly 10 minutes for this category to Switch 2, which is kind of ridiculous. The course of like an hour-long speedrun. But yeah, this game has just an enormous time discrepancy.
That's quite a good discrepancy, alright.
Yeah, and for the record, this game on Switch 1 is slower than the 3DS version, even. Which, I mean, is running on the 3DS. Like...
Yeah, I'm surprised the game could have run on 3DS to begin with, let alone faster.
I just really get more impressed by the day with the 3DS version of this game, and I wish it got more attention. It's very overshadowed, unfortunately, by both the Wii and the Switch version. I'd say in speedrunning, Wii and HD get about equal amounts of attention. They're both pretty much equally accessible. That is, Switch obviously being the newest release, and the Wii version being playable, of course, on a Wii or a Wii U, and also on emulator. We've had an emulator leaderboard there for the past, or since like about a year and a half ago, and it has resulted in a pretty significant increase in activity, which is quite nice. But 3DS doesn't get very much attention, unfortunately. It is kind of like the clunkiest version, but like deep down I have a soft spot for it. And for the record, all of the versions have different physics in some way, although the 3DS and Switch versions have closer physics to each other than either of them do to the Wii version. Because HD was based on 3D pretty much internally. So if you speedrun more than one version, or even all three like I do, you kind of have to like learn 3 different versions of each level, for the most part. It's not as hard as it sounds, but like some very small things are different between each version and they can trip you up. If you're not careful. So we do have our first minecart level here. This is an auto-scroller, however it's not purely auto-scroller. There are ways we can speed this up. So in general, when you're in a sitting minecart level like this one, I'd say sitting because there are some levels later on where you stand in the minecart, but we'll get to those when we get there. You generally want to ride downward slopes unless they're too steep, like that one just then. And you want to jump up upward slopes. As you can imagine, going up an upward slope is obviously going to slow you down a little bit. And riding a downward slope is going to speed you up a little bit, but only to a certain extent. If you ride it too much, or if you ride one that's going too steep, you'll go down more than you're going to the right, and it will result in a net time loss. And there is one more steep downslope coming up later on, but really it doesn't amount to too much. All of these extra jumps and stuff maybe save like a second and a half per level, and there are only 2 of these sitting minecart levels in any percent, so it's a very, very tiny amount of time save. But
Still a time save.
it's still time save. It's pretty much free time save as well, which is quite nice. Once you know what you're doing, it's not very risky to go for these little time saver jumps. So approaching the final level of Ward 1 here. Ward 1's, as you might expect, pretty easy. The thing about the bosses in this game, there are 8 bosses in this game, 8 worlds, 8 bosses. 6 of them have some sort of RNG elements to varying degrees. This is one of the 2 that doesn't, so it's actually quite fun to run. There is a strat I'm going to go for on the 3rd hit here. I don't know if I'll hit it. I'm usually pretty good at it. So, on this hit. I didn't get it. I was trying to hit him so that he would stop on the left side there, Did not quite get it though. That would basically have caused him to, well yeah, stop on the left side and not run all the way across like he's doing there, which I failed again unfortunately, so this is a real messy muggly fight. Unfortunately, losing at least 5 seconds here. But either way. That's a fun boss when it goes right, for sure. Normally I like to hit around a 925 for that split. I got a 935 on my end. But that's alright still. Generally when I'm doing marathon runs, I set my estimate to around 142, but I'm really looking to get a sub 140 if I play a good run. And like 10 seconds in Ward 1 is not the end of the world.
I'm definitely rooting for you.
Something about this game is that you can very much divide it into the first 4 worlds and the last 4 worlds. Which is to say that the last 4 have a massive difficulty spike compared to the first 4. And as far as the first half goes, World 2 is considered the hardest of the early game worlds. Particularly 3 levels, and this is one of them, 2-1. 2-1 is probably the most notorious early game killer. There are 2 main difficult sections. One of them deadlier than the other. There is this right here. That one not so much, that was much worse on Wii. Not so much for being a run killer, but like, that bounce saves about 2.5 seconds if you hit it, and it is much harder on Wii than on Switch. This is the other important section, and thankfully I hit the hardest part. Not jinx this now. Alright, cool, got the full strat. Yes, that ending section is the hardest part of the level, for sure. If you miss the strat I was going for there, it loses about 4 seconds. But that strat can be quite risky. It's very easy to die while doing it. So I'm glad I got a clean one there at least.
Very clean. He made it look quite easy.
Yeah, I'd say I'm at least 50-50 with it, for sure. It's definitely something that can be learned, but it's... 2-1's definitely another one of those levels that is really difficult when you start out with the game. And in the time attack mode, it is considered one of the hardest shiny gold medals to earn, from a casual player's point of view. And for good reason, for sure. 2-2 is fairly chill. This level's split into 2 halves, and the second half has a lot of climbing going on, but this first half is really, really simple. So again, with the climbing, we're holding up diagonally on the D-pad. It doesn't matter which diagonal you hold. You just have to hold a diagonal and you'll go faster. Wait a little bit before jumping there, because if I jump, or as soon as I jump, that Squid Blast will be activated. So I want to activate it in such a point that I can get a nice bounce off it without it either hitting me or it being too far along. And 2-2 is pretty simple. There are, on Wii and in 3DS version, there are fast cycles you can go for in that tower section, but they do not exist in HD. The cycles are completely changed for some reason. That is the case in a lot of levels, that the cycles are just different between versions for some odd reason. Right. Have to mash 5 times to start the rocket up there. This is an auto-scroller, and this one is a pure auto-scroller. There is nothing we can do to speed this up, and we've got just under 2 minutes of time to kill here.
I hear you. We have a $10 donation from Erica Lawless. And thank you very much for your generosity. Every little bit helps. Just a reminder as well about our incentives for the Kaizo Mario Odyssey incentive. And as well as an incentive, you can always select one of our polls. As well as that, we also have the promised mascot agency, Cat vs. Dog Spit War. So, you know, vote cats, dogs. I like both, but
Did someone say cats? Right, home stretch to this level now, and then we're into a bit of a more interesting one. By and large, this is probably the easiest auto-scroller in the game, but it's also one of the longest ones. All of the other auto-scrollers in this run will be shorter than this one, thankfully. You can basically just hold down for like the entire first half of that level for like 50 seconds straight and it'll be fine. The only thing you do have to watch out for in that level is that there are 3 coins you can get before the checkpoint, but in modern mode, coin requirements are a lot less strict. Like, we have been picking up coins throughout, but we need way less of them in modern mode to the point that it's basically not a problem. If we were playing in original mode, or on the Wii version, then we would have to be more careful and make sure to pick them up. But they're kind of optional here. 2-4 is another really simple level, and another quite short one as well. It's only about 40 seconds long, give or take. This does have some minor RNG with the cannonballs, actually. They shoot at varying times, and in the ending section that can cause some problems sometimes. Also, you can break that crate in 2 pounds if you land on it a specific way. Land on, like, the far edge of it. Probably gonna get hit here. Oh, I did not get hit. Cool. If you get hit, it does lose half a second, but it's not really a big deal, but pretty much ideal 2-4. We now get into one of the more well-known levels casually, and I'd say the second of the 3 killer levels in War 2. That is, the levels that are most likely to kill your run in the first half of the game. Although this is a really fun level, it's probably my favourite to run in World 2. Chuck this barrel here, get rid of this jellyfish so we can jump up without it impeding us. I just want to mention, like, the main place that you can see, like, the visual improvement in the HD version is in the water. I think, like, the water in this level looks really pretty compared to the Wii version. You can see this a lot at the ending of this level as well. Again, doing diagonal climbing here. Can avoid getting hit there. And right at the end now. So there we are, that's pretty much ideal.
very well done.
And we're going straight into the last one of those. This is another very memorable level casually. And apparently one of the levels that took the longest time to develop. I think they said this level took about 6 months to develop on the Wii version. So as you might expect, those waves are an insta-kill if we get hit by them. That's kind of the theme of this game. A lot of things will insta-kill you. It's pretty brutal. But if you know what you're doing, this level's not the worst thing ever, especially if you keep Diddy with you. Diddy makes this middle section much faster. Those waves are global cycles, so they do continue while I'm in that cave section, and I'm mostly just looking to get under this rock here. And I've got plenty of time to do that. You can get under the next one, but it saves barely any time. And I don't know, I don't consider it worth it. Some people do go for it, but I do not. So it's actually been quite a good Wall 2 so far. I'd say this is a very clean Wall 2 so far. And to be honest, the boss doesn't pose too much of a threat. This is an RNG boss, but the RNG is extremely minor in the context of a full game run. It will pretty much only amount to like a second of difference sometimes, which is much better than some of the bosses later on. It's more so in the IL, in time attack mode, that this level becomes a bit more annoying with the RNG. Yeah, this is a very straightforward boss. So, pop these guys 3 times. Position myself right around here, look for that grass and that banana in the background. I like to position myself there. Then they stack up, wait for them to raise their arms. Optionally dance along. And then we just rinse and repeat, pretty much. The second phase is pretty much no different to the first phase, except for the stack phase. So we're going to wait here again. Okay, good. We want them to spawn as far to the left as possible, ideally, in this part. Oh, they raised their hands early. They have maybe like a 10-20% chance of raising their hands early when they do that, which is the fastest outcome. That is 10-20%-ish chance in HD. In the 3DS version, it happens every time they spawn on the left, and on the Wii version, it happens extremely rarely. So trying to time it at this level on Wii is a bit of a nightmare. But in HD, it's not the worst thing ever. And if they hadn't raised their arms there, they wouldn't have taken much longer to do it. So just like that, we're on to World 3 now. And yeah, confirm that was quite a clean World 2 overall, for sure. Like, if World 1 had been a bit better, that would have been around a 21-17 World 2 exit, which is really good for what I want. So World 3 is really short. World 3 is the second shortest world in the run. But it's quite a varied world, like, even despite that. Like, there's quite a bit going on here. For starters, that platform can be a bit janky. Sometimes you can't quite clip onto it, like I did there. And it's kind of hard to tell why it doesn't work sometimes. Ooh, quite safe there. I will throw away Diddy here for a sec, but I will get him back immediately, so no worries. There he is. There were 2 coins I could have gotten back there, but I opted to not get them because it is technically slower to do so. Every roll you do will cost 2 frames, so ideally you want to do as few as possible. So that basically means grabbing those 2 coins would have cost me 2 frames, which is, I know it's basically nothing, but you imagine 30 rolls is like a second, basically. And again, coins are really no issue in modern mode. In original mode I definitely would have gone for those, but I don't need to here. Now 3-2 is a very unique level. This is the longest normal level in the game. And it's kind of got a bit of everything. This room is very important to get right. You really do not want to miss one of those guys, or they will go up to the top or down to the bottom, and they will take about an additional 4 or 5 seconds to come back up. And as a bonus, if you're playing in original mode, then missing a single hit will make the coin requirement a bit stricter. Because you get coins from chain bouncing enemies, so of course if you chain bounce all of them, you'll get a couple coins from it. And coins are going to be relevant right after this level, because we're going to go shopping right after this level. If you shoot perfectly, or within like a 2-frame window, you can double hit those buttons, so hit 2 at once, but it's not really worth going for in a run. I should also mention the Kong letters. We don't need to get them in this category. They would be required in pretty much every other category in this game, including all stages. Because the Kong letters are the requirement to unlock all stages. So basically, real quick, if you unlock, or if you pick up every Kong letter in a world, you will unlock a secret level in that world. If you beat all of those secret levels as well as the final boss, you will unlock the secret final world. And completing that secret final world basically constitutes all stages. As far as the HD version of this game goes, I've only run any % so far, but on the Wii version I have run every category at least a couple times each. And I'm honestly really excited to do the same in HD. Like, any % is cool and all, like it's by far the easiest to get into, but the other categories are really fun. For sure.
I'm sure a lot of your skill will transfer over anyway.
So what we picked up there was a map key. That basically lets us take a much shorter route through this world. Without the map key, we would have to play 3-3, 3-5, and 3-6 to reach the boss. With the map key, we can play just 3-4 and 3-6. And on top of that, 3-4 is a much shorter level than both 3-3 and 3-5. This level is about 45 seconds. Those two are about a minute 15 each. Oh dear. Right, I can explain what I did there. So if you grab into a ceiling, you kind of stick into it. It's kind of weird, like HD only thing that wasn't on Wii, but it works, so we don't really question it. I grabbed too late there, I ended up grabbing the grass instead, and that stopped my momentum, and I reacted a bit too late to save myself. That's a very minor death though, there could be some way worse deaths you can have. That one's maybe like 15 seconds. If dying in this game shows anything, is that this game is really hard. Like, most people will agree this game is very difficult for a children's platformer game on the Wii.
Yes, and I think a lot of people, their previous experiences with the original country, so probably quite a shock.
Yeah, this is not your Mario, your Kirby. And I do always like to mention when I first played this game around release back in 2010 or early 2011, I could not get past 1-2, the second level. Partially due to being a dumb kid, but also because this game's kind of hard.
Yeah.
But here I am now. Speaking of original country games, one of the main things in those games is the animal buddies. Unfortunately, they have not really been carried over into the Retro Studios games. So this is the only level in the run where we're going to see an animal buddy. And by extension, Rambi is the only animal buddy in either of the Retro games. So it is really confusing having to say Retro when referring to Retro Studios, but it's referring to the modern DKC games. That has always been really confusing. But anyway, yeah, Rambi is the only animal buddy in Returns to Tropical Freeze, unfortunately. And he's only in 4 levels in this game, out of about 79. So yeah, he is very underrepresented. And yeah, this is the only level we see him in any percent. He is a bit clunkier than DK. Each charge takes 4 frames instead of the usual 2. But there aren't really many places where you can minimize those anyway. And just like that, we're basically at the end. This is a really simple level to run. I'm coming up to the boss now. This is the first major RNG boss. I'd say this is the 3rd most important boss in the run, in terms of RNG. So we need to chuck 6 bombs at this boss. He's split into 2 phases. He will go into 2nd phase as soon as he takes 3 or more hits. There are like a million different ways you could do this fight, depending on the luck you get. Because sometimes he'll throw bombs at you, which is what you want. Sometimes he'll just kind of not throw them at you, and you won't be able to use them. Let's see what we get here. There's 1. Okay, he's throwing 1 away. Right, we've got 2 bombs there, so what we'll be looking for now is if he gives us 3 bombs from here, we'll be able to go for quite a fast kill. He did not do that. But we're on 4 hits now, so we can still kind of get a fast kill. There is about a 90% chance he goes to the right here, so of course because I said that he's going to go to the left. Of course he does. Still got a fast kill though. Yeah, there's always about a 90% chance he goes to the right there, but yeah. Sometimes, very rarely, he goes to the left, and technically it's about 0.3 of a second faster to go to the left. But yeah, it's harder to react to for sure. But yeah, we got quite lucky there. We got the 2 bombs we needed, so we quickly finished them off after that. That's about an average fight. If you get a perfect fight, it's about 9 or 10 seconds faster than that, but that's alright. Certainly passable. And we got a sub-31 split time. Split time tends to be on punching the T key at the end of the level. So yeah, that came out to a 30:53 split time on my end, which is perfectly fine. Especially considering I had a death in there. Alright, World 4 is the shortest world in the run, and arguably the easiest. Of course, because I said that, I'm going to find some way to die somewhere now, but this world only consists of 4 levels in 90%. And comes out to just over 8 minutes. With the slow Switch 1 loads as well. On Wii and with Switch 2 loads, this comes out to like a mid 7-minute world in length. And the other gimmick of this world is that every normal level is an auto-scroller in some way. So this is our introduction to the standing minecart levels, which are way cooler than the sitting ones. So we kind of have free movement from the minecarts, and that means we transition to and from minecart and platforming sections, which is really cool, and I wish they used it more. They only used it in 3 levels in the game overall. All of which we are going to be seeing in the run, thankfully. Oh, that was close, actually. I was pushing my luck there.
It's interesting that they set up all of these mechanics that probably took ages to code and then, as you say, used in about 3 or 4 levels.
Yeah, they had so much more potential for sure. I totally would have taken, like... Because they have 3 of these standing minecart levels and 3 of the sitting ones, I totally would have been fine with them replacing 1 or 2 of the sitting ones with more standing minecart levels. Because they are that much more interesting, but they do have to keep the traditional gameplay intact, I guess. Because of course sitting minecarts were what you had in the older games. This level's a bit less interesting than 4.1, but there are some unintended things we can do, but they're quite minor overall. And one of the biggest ones we're not going to be doing RTA because it's a bit risky. But we do definitely do it in the IL. Yeah, first section's pretty chill. Mostly just goofing around. Because nothing you really do in this section affects your speed. It's really only the stuff you do when transitioning between carts that affects your speed in these levels. I think technically it does affect your position in a very tiny amount, but it's not something that we really know how to manipulate, so as far as we're concerned we could just goof off in these sections. Like this. Whee! That does nothing, it just looks cool.
It does.
Also be sure to pick up coins in these levels, that's the other thing. You can bounce across those tikis to skip straight to this cart, but it is quite risky and only saves like half a second. So it's an IL only thing pretty much. And that background path is what you'd take if you needed to get G, or if you were having a coin emergency and you needed emergency backup coins. Because we are going to the shop again right after this. Those are kind of last resort coins, because that background path is quite slow. So again, we're taking the key path here. This doesn't skip a level like it does with World 3, but 4.2 and 4.4 are faster and easier than 4.3 and 4.5. So yeah, it's a much smaller time save than the one in World 3, but it still saves time. This is another rocket level, but it is quite a bit shorter than 2.3, at least. So... And we do get to do some fun stuff in this one, actually. Like, this is a fun auto-scroller. Even though we can't do anything to speed it up. There are no coins in this level, though, so it's kind of nothing you really need to focus on in any percent. But you can pop these balloons. If you want to be really mean, you can do that. I think the official lore goes that all of these creatures that are fighting you are hypnotized. At least like the normal creatures that are like not the tikis, so like these moles, they're all hypnotized. So it's not their fault. But you can bully them anyway. And you even get a puzzle piece for doing it right here.
You get rewarded for bullying, okay.
That is our last auto-scroller for a little while. We're getting into some more interesting levels now. Overall, World 4 is a bit of a boring world, but it's kind of the calm before the storm. That is the late game. Or the second half, rather. We've got more than an hour left, we can't be saying late game already. Enter the Mole Train, which is one of the most unique bosses for sure. This does have RNG. As far as RTA runs go, there can be like maybe an 8-second difference between a good and a bad fight here. It's much more of a problem in the IL, again, than it is in RTA. So you can skip straight to the minecart if you have Diddy with you, and that is an intended skip. You're required to do it to get the shiny gold medal in time attack mode, which is quite ingenious. I really love when that kind of thing is in games. We're a bit slow here, so I'm going to miss a cycle here. I'm going to explain what I mean by a cycle. So, yeah, I missed a cycle. So, in these phases, the moles can only start appearing in increments of about 2 seconds. So I just refer to those as cycles pretty much, or like frame rules. I did miss it there because I was slow in the first phase. Also, when you're transitioning between phases, you need to keep an eye out on which cart is left standing, because that will dictate how far away the train is, or, you know, the other carts. If the last cart standing is on the far left, the train will be really close. If it's on the far right, it'll be really far away. And if it is anywhere in the two left ones, or the middle one, you can make it without Diddy. In this last phase here, this guy will never be in the first two carts that shake, so you can single out some safe spots here. Also fun twist, you have to hit him 4 times instead of 3. But just like that, that's World 4 done. Generally you want to be getting around sub 40 there on Switch 1, so 39.47 by my count is pretty good. My best exit there is, I believe, 39.18, but that's, you know, I did have a death and then some other boss mistakes in this run, so, like, that's fine. Perfectly fine to get sub 40 here, for sure. Now, some people say the run begins in World 5, because this is where the game undergoes a big difficulty spike. Some people might say World 5 is the second hardest world in the run. I don't know where I stand personally, but I do think World 5 is definitely at least in the top 3 hardest worlds. Maybe number 2. But that's more the later levels in this world. 5.1's relatively chill. You can do that shot damageless, but I think it's frame perfect. So this is kind of semi-auto-scroller. You have to wait for these vines a lot. This does give me a good chance to talk about the controls, because it is very relevant in this level what control scheme you're using. So in-game, the game recognizes default and alternate as control styles. Alternate is kind of the bad one, you don't really want to be using that, because for some reason it adds a run button. So that is to say you need to hold a button to run and hover at full speed. Unfortunately that button is the same as the grab button. So that means you can't hover past vines at full speed, which is quite bad for this level. The thing about alternate controls though is that it puts roll and pound on the shoulder buttons, which is the control scheme I prefer, as opposed to having them on X and Y. So how do I solve this dilemma? Well, originally I just kind of accepted the alternate time loss until a community member helpfully reminded me that the Switch lets you manually remap buttons in the settings. So, yeah, I basically just play on default controls, but with my preferred control, like button layouts, set up on the Switch options, which is really nice.
Yeah, I'm very guilty of the same thing, just forgetting, oh yeah, I can change the buttons.
It's so good. I really wish it were like in just more widespread.
Yes, it's such an easy accessibility thing to implement.
Dive 2 is what I would say is the start of the Gauntlet of World 5. A set of 3 levels that are really difficult to do well, and really easy to die in. And this is the first one of the 3. This is one of the coolest levels to run in this game, for the record. There is so much going on here. Really fun level. Like that. Oh, I didn't quite get that. If I'd done that perfectly, I would have kind of like stuck into that ceiling and maintained full speed, but at least I didn't die. Last checkpoint is where things kind of get spicy. So right around here. There's a strat you can do here. I might have already messed it up. Big jump. That saves very little, but it looks cool. Now the ending has a pretty significant strat I'm gonna go for. If I fail it, I might die. Yeah, I'm not surprised I failed that. That was not a good attempt. I should have pulled back on that one, but yeah, that's fine. So I'm not going to go for it the second time, but you can just jump straight to the final platform from there. It doesn't even say that much, honestly. It's like a very high level strat that is very unrewarding and very punishing if you miss it. I do go for it in world record attempts though, even though it says barely anything. It's just because it looks cool. Admittedly, it is more difficult to hit. In HD, it is quite a bit easier on Wii. I think you have an extra frame of leeway on Wii. I think it's about a 2-frame window to hit that in HD. There is a visual cue, but it's not the best. So you kind of have to rely on muscle memory. That's out of the way though. 5-3 is one of the easiest levels to take a silly death in, for sure. And there are also some pretty important strats I need to hit here to save some time. A couple seconds each, including one right here. Which is pretty easy, that one's very consistent. Now this one is more difficult. Now I intentionally delayed my roll there because I knew I was too fast. If I had been any faster there, I would have actually bonked into like a weird wall hitbox on that mushroom. But yeah, that strat, bouncing across those spiders by the checkpoint, which was now like 20 seconds ago, basically lets you like land further along on a moving platform. And yeah, that makes that whole part possible. And that ending section is also quite difficult, but I was kind of talking all over it, so I didn't really get to explain it, but yeah, there's not much room for optimization in that ending section, it's just kind of don't die. But yeah, 5-3 is a very crazy level. Definitely like the first really hard level, I'd say, in the run. And it's followed up immediately by 5-4, which is another really hard level. Notably, if you die in this level, you do not get Diddy back until the very end, so you need to kind of be good at playing with solo DK in an emergency. That applies to many levels, but this one especially. Let's hope I don't have to demonstrate it here, because this level's really cool with Diddy. Intentional damage there. Those moving platforms are already activated. I would have had to wait for them anyway. It mostly gets interesting around the last checkpoint. First two are a bit easier, right here. Okay. Oh. That did not quite go to plan. Right, just play carefully, that's fine. That was decent. Didn't die at least. And that's mostly your main concern. When you're playing 5-4, just don't die. A little bit rocky because I missed a jump around the last checkpoint, but it's fine, I backed it up decently. So now Ward 5 takes a chill pill for a little bit. 5-5 is much easier than the levels we just played. It does have a cool strat at the very end that I would like to hit, but I'm probably not going to. But the rest of the level is also just really fast and cool looking. Like, if you want to feel really good at the game, this is probably a great level to do that with. Like... yeah, this level kind of looks effortlessly cool. The bottom of the mouth has a bigger hitbox than the top, so you can kind of graze against the top, but not so much the bottom. Right here. I'm going to try this, I'm probably going to fail it. Okay, I did not get it. I was trying to do a super delayed bounce off that spider, which would have let me kind of go out of bounds in this section. It's kind of hard to explain without being able to show a video of it, but yeah. You can kind of go out of bounds there, and if you hit the strat perfectly, it saves 4 seconds, which is really nice. I forget if the current world record hits it, but I've definitely had... I had 2 world records previously that used it. hit it successfully. Oh yes, arachnophobia warning for this level. Look away for like the next minute 10 seconds if you don't like spiders.
Very good shot.
Although at the same time we're going kind of fast, so you might not get to see them that much anyway, but there are spiders in this level, and they one-hit you, because everything in this game one-hits you. Obviously there are these big purple ones here, but there is a massive swarm of black spiders chasing me. But yeah, they're kind of quite far off screen right now. And they don't really ever get a chance to catch up unless I mess up somewhere. This is a very hard level casually, but surprisingly an easy level in speedrunning. Relatively. Like, there really is not much to worry about in this level. You just kind of keep going to the right. You just learn the jumps, and it's not the worst thing ever. There's a strat I'd like to hit here, but I'm probably not going to. Oh, I got it, nice. When you are bouncing off anything springy, in the 3D and HD versions of this game, if you grab right around the peak of that bounce, you'll get an extra kind of boost with Diddy's jetpack, and that lets you skip the cannon there, which saves 0.8. I actually ended up golding that split, which is quite cool.
Very well done.
And now onto 5B. This is my favourite boss in this game. Is one of only two that doesn't have RNG. It's also got a really difficult strat and I need to lock in for it, so I'm gonna probably be quiet for most of this. Unless I mess it up. Okay, nice. The first phase is the hardest part. Pretty much perfect. Nice.
Oh, very well done.
Very clean. I'm currently the only one going for that strat in HD runs, which saves about 7 or 8 seconds over the safe strat for that boss. It's mostly the first phase that is difficult, but there are plenty of places throughout that you can kind of get tripped up on. I would say overall that the Wii strat is harder for that boss though. Like, I'm definitely more scared going into that boss on Wii. But either way, a 51 Ward 5 split is still pretty solid considering everything that's happened so far in this run. I've had about 2 deaths, I think. Ward 6 is, I'd say, the 4th hardest ward, the easiest in the second half, for sure. I think I'm probably least stressed about Ward 6 in the second half. It's still pretty hard though. 6-1 right here can be a bit of a nightmare if you happen to lose Diddy in 5B. Although you do get him back at the first checkpoint there, but it can be quite difficult if you lose him. And there are like a million ways you can mess up 5B, so it's definitely a possibility. That damage boost saves hardly anything, and kind of makes the ending a little bit riskier. Okay.
Looked pretty cool.
Okay, somehow made that work. That was sketchy. It's decent enough. Alright, we had no auto-scrollers in Ward 5, but we are actually going back into an auto-scroller now. This is the last sitting minecart level in the run, thankfully. But yeah, this level's about a minute and a half long, and there is really not much to talk about, other than it's not even really visible at the beginning, but don't drink the forbidden chocolate. It's molten tar, but it looks like chocolate. I probably used to think it was chocolate when I was playing this game as a kid. But yeah, this level is... not got too much to say about it. Although on Wii, the time attack here is one of the few that we have actually maxed out on Wii. And by we, I mean, like, 4 people that are not me. I'm one of the top players that doesn't have it on Wii, the title record for this level, because it is really difficult to match the task here. I'm 1 frame off currently. I've had 1 frame off about 4 or 5 times on Wii, but it's definitely not a priority to go for. As far as tasking goes, we don't really have anything for HD yet, and we probably won't for a little while. I know Switch tasking isn't like in its infancy or anything. I mean, like, Odyssey has been having a lot of tasks done, but it's probably going to take a while to come around for this game, specifically. Even Returns 3D has had some task effort over the years, even if less than the original Wii game. Speaking of tasks, you should really check out the All Stages tasks on Wii for this game. It is really cool.
Just while we're going through the auto-scroller as well, might just highlight that we have an incentive coming up for Liana's Inception. It's a Watch the Campfire cutscene. Primarily dialogue-focused cutscene. This is the main 2 characters, Lena and Paige the Librarian, roasting marshmallows, chatting a little bit about adventures, and confessing love in a very silly and adorable way. So if you want to donate for that incentive, or just to donate to vote on cats versus dogs for our next run, feel free. Just check the pinned comment.
6-3 is unanimously considered one of the coolest levels in the game. This level was made for speedrunning. It's amazing. Oh, whoops. Except when you accidentally stand on a platform like that, you're supposed to roll off. This level was just built for speedrunning. There are so many intended skips you can do here. Like, you're supposed to do a bunch of puzzles in this level, but yeah, you can skip pretty much all of them. Like, there's a weight puzzle here, but you can just, whoops. Just tilt this platform up a little bit. Boop. Skip it all. And you can do like the Diddy Rocket thing I did in 5A in this part as well, but it's, yeah, not something I'd ever go for on runs myself. And we're already pretty much near the end of the level right here. There is in particular like a pretty massive strat you can do in this level on Wii, which is, again, IL only, but it saves like 6 or 7 seconds and skips the entire background section that we were in like 40 seconds ago. This level just... it just keeps on giving. It's so good. And 6 Fall's another level I really like, for sure. This one does kind of have a special place in my heart a little bit, because I was the first one to get under a minute here on the time attack in the Wii version. Back in the long gone days of April 2021. The beginning section is pretty simple, but the rest gets more complicated. But overall this level can be surprisingly consistent despite how difficult it might look. And there are many intentional damage boosts we do here. This might be the most intentional damage boost out of any level. At least in 90%. Because waiting is boring. Why wait when you can just do this?
So true.
And to cap off the level, we have a massive boulder here. You guessed it, it's a one-hit kill, so don't get hit by it. Just don't touch anything. That's kind of a good rule for this game, don't touch anything. Because it will probably one-hit you. But that's out the way, at least. Still having a low 59, 6-4 split is pretty nice. It does mean we have to start 6-6 without Diddy. In the other categories you can actually start 6-6 with Diddy because we would be doing 6-5 before 6-6, which is a level you do finish with Diddy. But yeah, we're not doing that in any percent. It's a bit too... Even though 6-5 is a bit faster than 6-4, it's a bit too slow to get the key in that time as well. But we're going to be getting Diddy right now anyway, so it won't be long. He's right here. Oops. This is kind of a weird level. Not many levels are segmented in the way this one is. And the last third of this level is kind of auto-scrollery, but only a little. I want to touch the ground as soon as possible here, because that will start the sequence. Do not let that big guy touch you, he is a one-hit kill.
Shocking.
I think you kind of want to get down here as soon as possible, because I think that kind of forces him to catch up to you. Cheeky jump here to fall a bit faster, and yeah. Pretty much straight dash to the finish now. Kind of good use of being able to use grabs to stick into ceilings and brush against walls, and that ending part there. My summer best does give me a sub-hour 6-6 split, but I highly doubt I'm going to get that. Oh yes, the game fakes you out here. It makes you think 6-6 is the last level of World 6 before the boss. It is not. So we are now going into the level after 6-6 and the level before 6-8. I'm not falling into the trap of saying this level's number. Again, I did that 2 marathon runs in a row, I'm not going to do it again. Anyway, the level before 6-8, it's another pretty cool level, honestly. I think just the cliff scenery is like the best in the game. Like this is the most atmospheric world for sure. Especially in the next level. Have to be really careful with these platforms here because they kind of lie to you. They make you think they're tangible when they're not. You can just kind of fall through them when it doesn't look like you should. Alright, this ending section's pretty important. I intentionally hover there to delay a little bit. Oh no, I died. That's fine, I can show it off again. The cycles are unchanged, it's fine. So intentionally delay a little bit there, and do not undershoot the cannon. Because we need to grab that vine. That vine is pretty much set in motion like shortly after you pass the checkpoint. But if we go at full speed, we're actually a bit too fast. It's not swung all the way over to the left by the time we get to it. So you do need to delay a little bit. That was a very minor death. That was like 13 seconds. Not too bad. Some deaths can be way worse. Alright, we are out of the level after 6-6. And now we can start calling the levels by their numbers again. 6-8 is a really atmospheric level. Like, if you get the chance, look at noclip.website for this game on Wii, and look at how tall this level is, and then you think we get through all of that in like a minute, pretty much. This level is heavily global cycled, so we actually don't need to be too fast here to make the global cycles for the first half of the level. So it's not worth trying to go fast and then dying possibly because of it. Like we were kind of bottlenecked by that swinging platform. And then there's a cannon that's also restricting this. Right up here. This moving cannon. Oh, whoops. I undershot it. Whoops. Oh dear. Okay, I got very confused there.
Oh no.
Yeah, I missed a cycle there, so that cannon was over on the left instead of the right. Kind of messed with me, but that's fine. Getting a deathless run in this game is really hard. Not even the World Record's deathless right now. I have had deathless runs, but not the World Record is not deathless currently.
I could definitely see why.
But yeah, in the background of that level you can actually see the boss arena as well. Which... I mean, there's not really much, like... There's not a huge amount of, like, connection between the levels that's visible. But, like, that is one of the cases where you can see it. But yeah, going into 6B now... Going purely off of, like, ideal scenario, perfect RNG for every boss, this is the longest level in the game. At about 2.5 minutes. Realistically, one of the next two bosses is probably going to be longer than this, but yeah, purely speaking on how fast you could theoretically do it, this is the longest level in the game. This boss is split into 3 phases. Oh, whoa. Okay, you don't do that very often. If you do the first hit too well, sometimes he can do that. He's supposed to not do that. Anyway though, this boss is split into 3 phases, 3 hits per phase. The first phase has no RNG, but the second and third phases do have RNG. The main one being the length of his backwards walk after that attack, pretty much, where he smashes into the wall. Ideally you want a short walk each time before he opens up his weak spot, but he doesn't always give you that. Also, volume warning in like 5 seconds from now, turn your volume down.
Wow.
Don't say I didn't warn you. They really messed up with the volume there for some reason. And they messed that up in the 3DS version, but for some reason they didn't fix it in the HD version. I'm pretty sure they like played multiple screen tracks on top of each other or something when they didn't mean to. It's kind of insane they did not spot that 2 games in a row though.
Yeah, I had the game audio down fairly low and I still heard that quite loudly.
It's also going to play again at the end of the second phase, but that'll be the last time. I usually turn my TV down, I actually forgot this time. Let's do that right now. There we go. Alright, turn volume down again in like 5 seconds. Okay, so that you can have your volume up for the rest of the run now.
Wonderful.
That's the one really weird, like, audio balancing case I always have to point out to people when, like, we're setting up for marathons and stuff. Like, oh yeah, the game gets really loud in this one part, but the rest is fine. Oh, not good luck either. I actually had 2 long walks in this one. That is the worst luck you can get. I forget exactly how much that loses, but it's quite a bit. And I forgot to mention, but you can completely skip this fireball attack here by just taking damage. It saves a couple seconds each time. Interestingly, they patched that fireball attack skip in the 3DS version, but they reintroduced it in HD.
Look quite interesting.
I'm kind of like... I just love, like, obsessing over little version differences like that. Like, I tend to, like... I tend to like playing all the versions of any game I speedrun, for the most part. Just exploring like kind of every corner of it, yeah, pretty much everything you can do with the game.
Very impressive to keep track of, well, all the minor things with every version.
Yeah, I do definitely want to play the 3DS version a bit more. I've not played it in quite a while, but eventually. Ah. If I'd been a bit later there, I would have avoided damage. World 7 is generally considered the hardest world in the game, by most accounts. Levels like 7-1, not so much, but some of the later levels are really mean in this world. There's a pretty important strat I need to hit right here. Nice. That's kind of a janky one, kind of grabbing into the ceiling, except it's against that pipe that's only a short distance away from the thing coming out of it. Yeah, 7-1's pretty short, and it's also the only level in any percent that is got that pretty silhouette aesthetic. The most famous level that uses silhouette art style is Sunset Shore in World 1, which we don't play in any percent because it's on a key path, but it was on so many like desktop backgrounds back in like 2011. Like everyone loves Sunset Shore.
It really is gorgeous.
And like everyone always uses it as an example of like how pretty this game looks.
The game as a whole looks really great.
Yeah, like even on the Wii, this game is really visually appealing. For sure. Right, 7-2 is mostly fine except for this checkpoint section right here. This can pose some problems if I'm not careful. Okay, we nailed it. That's fine. There's a really awkward bit of movement there that can go wrong quite easily, because you need to be quite fast going into that yellow crusher section to be able to make that cycle I made. And quite often you'll just bonk against it and die. Quite unusual. I don't tend to have Diddy here, but you can definitely have Diddy here. It doesn't really do anything though to have Diddy, because you get him right back at the start of the next level anyway. Alright, this is our final shopping trip of the run, and we're actually going to be buying a bit more here. Nice coin count. Right, so we bought the key again because 7-3 on the key path is a 40-second level as opposed to a minute-and-a-half rocket level for 7-4. We also bought two other items there. We bought a green balloon, which is going to come into play in 7-5 immediately after this level, and we bought banana juice, which is not going to come into play for a little bit, but it will be important. But for now, let's just play 7-3. So you kind of have to wait at the beginning of this level. There's Diddy right there if you need him. You lost him in 7-2. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Honestly, there's not too much going on in this level. Just a very quick dash to the finish, pretty much. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, right, backup time. Backups are exceedingly important in this game. I'm also going to not go for something kind of risky there. if you roll onto those 4 hands, it's fastest, but you need to be fairly fast to actually be able to roll onto them without just bonking them and dying. And I wasn't sure if I was fast enough there, so just kind of saved it. As soon as you land on those hands, the one that brings along the cannon will activate, so yeah, sooner you can do that, the better. But yeah, I am most certainly not going to forget to equip the green balloon here. No, I will not forget to equip it. Good job you remember to equip it. I have to tell myself that, because sometimes I will forget, and I'll be very sad if I forget. Anyway, my review on doing what the green balloon does, we'll get to it. 7-5 is kind of the first of the Gauntlet of Ward 7. There are a couple gauntlets in this game. There was the Gauntlet of Ward 5. This is the Gauntlet of Ward 7. Not too much going on in the beginning here. Right here, the green balloon's going to come into play. So, that basically saves you from a fall, but you can kind of abuse that to clip out of bounds in some places, and that lets you access that cannon there much sooner than you should be able to. You're supposed to, like, pound a wheel and then wait for it to really slowly rotate around. Or you can just do that. It saves, like, over 10 seconds. It's really nice. It's kind of an ingenious time save. And that is a modern mode only time save, because the green balloon is only purchasable in modern mode. So you can't do that in original mode or on the Wii version. But yeah, that's out of the way. There is a global cycle at the very end that kind of pace locks this whole level. We'll get to it. All of these bits are locally cycled. But yeah, that final rotating piece is set in motion from the very beginning. I think it even advances when you're in like the little switch room. And there's nothing you can do to speed it up. It is technically possible to get a little slightly faster cycle there, like catch the next cycle, but it's very risky to do. You need to be very fast to make it, and there is no way of knowing if you're fast enough until you've already done the cannon input. And if you're too early or too late, you'll die. So, yeah. And also, dying at the end of 7-5 is one of the worst deaths you can have. It loses pretty much a flat 40 seconds, and removes Diddy as well. But either way, second level of the Gauntlet, 7-6. This is a really cool level for speedrunning. Conceptually one of the coolest as well. It's also considered one of the hardest levels to run, for sure. The switch room is much easier to find in this one, much less out of the way. But yeah, this is definitely a very difficult level, especially in the last third. That's the most notable part. Nothing you really do in this tire bouncing section affects your time. But yeah, we're about to enter the last part of the level. Let's see how I do here. Anything can happen. That's pretty much ideal, actually. I went swimmingly. That's nice. Yeah, very close to gold there. That's quite good.
Really well done.
And to finish off the Gauntlet Award 7, we have 7-7, which is one of the most, do I want to say infamous? In the speedrun community, definitely infamous levels in the game. You could write like a 600-page essay on all of the jank in this level. Don't have time to get into all of that, but this level is a complete mess of cycles. And if you've played this game before to completion, you'll know that this level, and you'll probably be able to tell even right now, it's time to the music. There are a number of cycles we're looking to make here. One very important one right here I'm really looking to make. Ah. Okay, got kind of messed up there. We can still make this work. Okay, that's still decent. It kind of got messed up around the second checkpoint there with those little hammers, but that was alright. Now we gotta make this work from here. Be really careful because that kind of flamethrower immediately out of the bonus room, or switch room, likes to stay on longer than you think it will. But that's pretty much it. That was a relatively smooth 7-7. It can go way worse than that if you aren't careful. But if you're skilled enough, like, you can learn to adapt to pretty much any situation. It's not random, it's just very difficult to manipulate. That's pretty much the gist of 7-7. Now, the reason why we needed all those switches in those 3 levels was because if we did not get those, we would not be able to progress any further. You need those to bring the rocket up, and the rocket lets you play this level, which is a really weird one-off level. If you take, like, the longest category in this game, which is file completion, which is a category where you're supposed to play every level 3 times, this is the only level you play a single time and never again. Because this level is really just a one and done. It has no time attack mode. You cannot play it in mirror mode, which is kind of the hard mode of this game. Later on, you just play this level a single time, you get to progress with the game, and you never play it again. And it's like a 50-second auto-scroller. It's one of only 2 vertical rocket auto-scrollers, which makes for some cool scenery, for sure. Aurora Borealis.
This time of year.
Localized entirely on my Nintendo Switch system.
May I see it?
No.
Just that entire scene is baked into my brain, so...
Our quote-unquote reward for 7R is access to, well, 7's boss, as you might have expected. And this boss is infamous for sure. Even among casual players, this is probably one of the toughest bosses casually. In speedrunning we fear it for a different reason. Well, 2 different reasons. Actually, like 3, now that I think of it. So for starters, we are basically just doing nothing for like the first 30 seconds of this fight. He's gonna slowly walk to the left, and then he's gonna slowly walk to the right. And then he's gonna slowly walk to the left again, and then he's gonna attack us. So we've gotta wait a little bit. Which gives me time to explain how the fight works. So in the first phase here, he will jump up and then optionally reveal his weak spot. He can take up to 3 jumps to reveal his weak spot, and each extra jump loses like 5 or 6 seconds, so obviously we want like 1 jump ideally. That's not weak spot. Okay, there we go. So 2 jumps there, for example. Lost maybe like 5 seconds perfect RNG so far. You need to do that first hit away from the wall, because if you do, he will give you the second hit for free every time, which is really nice. And then the third hit can kind of play out a number of different ways. I'm going to stand here and hope for the best. He can decide to just walk around the arena once or twice. But he decided against it this time, which is really nice of you. Thank you very much. Still giving us an extra jump. But... okay. So, we would say, for this fight, we would say we got no extra walks, 3 extra jumps, which is good overall. That's like, maybe like 17, 18 seconds lost to perfect RNG, which is fine. Now the second phase, I'm going to explain this really quickly. Second phase, we need to hit him 3 times, but if we're really clever, we can try and do that all at once. Okay, we didn't get it. It is easier on the right side for the record, so we might still get 2 at once here. Like that. You can get 3 at once, but it is very difficult. Especially on the left side, and the left side is where he ends up if you don't get any extra walks. So, yeah. You kind of have to do the hard one. The worst thing that can happen is, if you're really unlucky, you can get kind of clipped out of the wall on the left side. And you can save it, but it's hard to react to. And sometimes you can just actually fall out the level and die. That happened to me in the last marathon run I did of this game, like a week ago. And it is like probably the worst death you can have in the game. It sets you back pretty much 2 minutes. It's devastating.
Well, that's rough.
So we're in the home stretch now, final world, and we've just popped our banana juice, and you'll see why immediately, because this level is filled with damage boosts. I said 6-4 has the most damage boosts, completely forgetting this level exists. So many places here, it's faster to just tank a hit than go around the slow way. So yeah, it is more than worth it to get banana juice here. Interestingly, this level's actually easier in original mode, because banana juice gives you 10 extra hits in original mode, as opposed to 5 in modern mode. So yeah, it's actually easier to make it out with Diddy here in original mode, but nonetheless, you can still make it out with Diddy here in modern mode. Oh, heck. That's fine, we're only going to take 1 extra hit here. Invincibility frames past that guy, and we keep Diddy. Which is what we're looking for, really. Because Diddy will make our life easier in some of the following levels. I say that because we're actually not going to be able to pick him up again for a little bit. There's a bit of a drought of Diddy barrels for a little bit here. So immediately following 8-1 we have a pair of auto-scrollers. And this one is the hardest auto-scroller in the game, I'd say. At least the hardest auto-scroller in any percent, for sure. In practice, I've never died to this on, like, a run with nerves, but I'm always scared it'll happen. I don't think I ever mentioned it, but anything you touch in an auto-scroll is a one-hit kill, so minecart or rocket levels, anything you touch instantly kills you. Even though my health bar says I have 6 hits. They did change this in Tropical Freeze. You do actually have vehicle health in that game. But for this game, don't touch anything. But yeah, this level can be super scary on pace. Even though, like, in practice you get it like 99% of the time, you're just always scared you'll mess up somehow.
Completely understand that feeling.
In this ending section there's also a section right here we have to get a bit close for comfort, sandwiched between that little rock at the top and that fire snake at the bottom. A bit of a tight squeeze. And if you want to get those bananas, that gives you a puzzle piece, so you've got to get those if you're doing all puzzles. This is a super rough level in all puzzles, sure. This has some of the toughest puzzle pieces in the game. Look, it's out of the way now. And we're now going into our last minecart level, and thankfully it's a standing one, so we've got some cool movement here. We can save a little bit of time in this level by having Diddy, which is quite nice. 8-2 had no Diddy barrels. This level also has no Diddy barrels, so you've got to keep them from 8-1 to be able to hit this. immediately there is a pretty cool skip we can do. And it's not that hard, actually. It looks kind of spooky, but it's really not that bad. There's a pretty lenient window to do it. And then kind of standard standing minecart stuff until we get to the checkpoint. That hit shouldn't matter. Wasn't intentional, but it shouldn't affect me too badly. Wait a little bit there for that fireball to go, and then we can keep going there. Alright, right here, kind of a scary looking strat, but it's really not that bad. Kind of jump off that to get a tiny boost forwards. It looks terrifying because you're jumping off like your only grass platform, but it works every time. If you just keep holding the grab button, you'll never fall into the lava. So it's kind of free time save, even if it's only like about 0.2 you save overall from that. So we're really in the home stretch now. We've only got 4 levels left in the run. And to cap it off, we've got the Gauntlet Award 8. Starting with 8.5. And I would say this is the hardest level in Award 8, probably. I usually mess this one up, I would say. If I mess up a level in Award 8, it's probably going to be this one. There's so much you can do here, theoretically. Oh, that's a great start. That shouldn't matter too much. Yeah, I'm going to have to wait a cycle here. That's fine. Not a massive problem, because the next section cycles haven't started yet. This section is really important and I messed it up. Oh well. I'm gonna take the scenic route. Slow route, and it's still, like, fine. Second half's a bit easier than the first half. Like, the majority of the difficulty is concentrated in the first half. Second half can still be a little spooky though. Ooh. That's alright. I've done worse, for sure. I've definitely done worse, including in World Record runs. That is definitely passable. Second level of the Gauntlet, 8/6. Another really spooky level. And I'd say this is like the hardest level left at this point in the run. This level does have some global cycles going on. There is some stuff that's global cycled in the next section, and we want to make sure we're fast enough to get to it on a good cycle. Oh dear, that's not a good start. If you land on the very edge of a platform, you can't roll sometimes. That's fine, we can do the solo DK. Just a little more difficult. I have to be a bit more deliberate with our movements here. To wait a little bit here if we can jump. So now these platforms are going to be in different locations where they would be. Not too bad still. Okay, we're probably fine. Yeah, made it through still. You really want to make it through with at least 2 hearts left on Diddy, ideally. So at most you can kind of take 1 hit there. Or in original mode, you kind of don't really want to take any hits. So we've got a bit of a semi-auto-scroller here. If you look really closely relative to the background, we're actually moving right. And you can probably imagine what's off-screen to the right. So we're going to do something cool. It's not as bad as it looks, trust me. There is a very consistent setup for it, trust me, it's not that difficult. It just looks really cool. But yeah, you do kind of need to have at least 2 hits left on Diddy for that. Just because you need a damage boost to set it up. We're passing through a lot of fireballs while we have invincibility, so yeah, damage boost is important. But with that out of the way, we are in our last normal level of the run now. And sometimes I have some cheeky deaths here, even though I'd say this is the easiest level of the gauntlet. Be really careful still. You can do all of that beginning movement with solo DK, it's just a bit scarier. Now this is a vertical level, one of the only vertical levels in the game, and vertical levels tend to be quite hard to optimize. This one's no exception. Still keeping Diddy, because yeah, we don't really need to take any more damage boosts from here. We kind of just a straight shot to the finish from here. Do our best. That was a good 8-7. That might be a gold. That was really nice.
Pretty clean.
Oh yeah, that should be a gold, sure. By about a second, wow, okay. That was really good. Excellent. Okay. Right, final boss. I've said a thing or two about RNG in this run. I really regret to inform that the worst RNG in the game is located right here. Yes, it has killed many runs. Nobody likes this boss in the speedrunning community. But it must be done. It can be either the most hype way to finish a run, or like the most crushing disappointment of all time. For me, it's usually the latter.
Yeah, true.
But I'll real quickly explain, because this boss is a bit special, as you might expect from the final boss. We got a little auto-scroller leading up to the boss before we actually have to fight it. So in that time, I'll explain how it works. So it's split into 2 phases. Split into the first phase is kind of like an Andros hands phase, head and hands phase. You need to hit each hand twice. You do get a couple free hits in there. But yeah, hit each hand twice. He can give you palms up, which I'll explain what that means, but he can give you that up to 3 times, and each one loses like 4 or 5 seconds, so you don't want it, ideally. And then in the head phase, you have to hit his head 3 times. He gives you the first hit for free, he can do 2 hits in a row sometimes, but it's kind of rare. But let's focus on the first phase first. So right here, we get a free hit. His hand can be either high or low, but just pretend it's high every time. It doesn't matter which hand he attacks you with there. Doesn't save or lose any time. Now we want his palm to be facing down here so we can hit the button on the back of his hand. Nice. About a 50-50 chance probably of that happening. And as I said, he can give you an up palm up to 3 times if you're really unlucky. But as soon as you get 1 down palm, you're good. So now we're in the head phase. We need to hit his head 3 times, he'll give me 1 hit for free. The timing will stop as soon as I land the 3rd hit, but we're not quite there yet. So he can do a bunch of different attacks in between, and unfortunately, so there are 2 like fire-based attacks, this is one of them, that he can do to waste time. Oh, quite lucky here. Hit number 2. If we're really lucky. That is a really good attack. Okay, that dip attack kind of uses up like a lot of his metaphorical attack points. Okay, get ready on time when I hit him. Time. I like didn't have time to explain what I wanted to explain there. He gave me really good pattern actually. Yay, that's a 138.
Really well done.
That is the best marathon run for this game currently. That beats my previous best by like a minute. Yeah. Pretty happy getting a 138, even despite everything that happened. For reference, the current world record is 137.15, and my summer best is a 134. But yeah, considering I had some bad RNG in the earlier bosses, a couple deaths in there, like that is a pretty good run still. I'm quite happy with
Quite a few
that.
goals too.
Yeah, I got 2 golds in that run too. So yeah. And I did a run for Preventathon the other day that was like 5 minutes slower than this. I just could not hit anything, so I'm glad I redeemed myself for this one at least. Oh yeah, uh, I don't know if I have like any individual shoutouts to do, but I will shout out like the entire DKCR community. We share a Discord server with Tropical Freeze, so there's kind of been like a lot of crossover between the games. I don't play Tropical Freeze myself, but I'm like intimately familiar with it just because of that. How do I want to word this? Keeping in theme with like, keeping in line with like the theme of this marathon quickly. So I participated in the first edition of this marathon this time last year. There was someone who like I wanted to mention during my run back then, but I forgot to at the time. They are still, you know, with us in this world, thankfully, but at the time I wasn't sure if they were. But I still think about them a lot, and I kind of want to just... I apologize for like, this sudden tone shift, but I kind of want to bring them up quickly. Yeah, in just keeping in line with the theme of this marathon, or the namesake of this marathon, rather, I think. Yeah, I kind of want to dedicate this run to them. Even though they're still around and well, like, they've been through some stuff, and yeah, that kind of thing means a lot to me. That was kind of all over the place, I didn't know how to word that, but that's kind of all I wanted to say regarding that. This game is really cool, and it's more accessible than ever with the Switch version, and you can play it, like you can play on Switch, you can play Switch 2, you can play Wii, you can play Wii with an emulator, play on a 3DS. You can play this game in like a million different ways, and it's more active than ever before, thanks to that. Even though the newer game, Bonanza, has taken a bit of the attention these days, like there's still plenty of people playing this game. So yeah, I'd highly recommend getting into it. It's probably not as difficult as you might think. I know I died a lot, even though I've played this game for years and years, but it's probably easier to get into than you might think. So I'd really encourage you to do so if you're interested. But I'm going to sign off there, and thank you for having me on.